Good morning, everybody. It's Jeff Goldberg for the Sales Pro Network. It is Friday, January 10th. Wow, the year has started off with a bang, and there's no better way to start off this year than with our guest, who I'll introduce in just a moment. If you have not joined us before, the Sales Pro Network is devoted to elevating the profession of sales, giving salespeople a place to network with each other, hang out, learn, and earn. And I founded it 4 years ago to do exactly that. And if you've been with us before, you know that every Friday at 10 a.m., we either do a live training or a live interview with somebody who can add value to the profession of sales. And I'll say it again, today's guest is the perfect guest for today because it is the beginning of the year. Today's guest is a goals strategist, a speaker, and a workshop leader. She's actually done a TEDx speech, which is very impressive. She's a host, an author, and the founder of the Deb Method. Please welcome today's guest, Deb Eckerling. Good morning, Deb.
Good morning, Jeff. I must like you a lot because it's 7 a.m. in Los Angeles. Hopefully I'll be awake by the end of the conversation.
Yes, and we'll talk a little bit later about Los Angeles because I know there's a lot going on near you. Let's start with this. As a goal-setting expert, lots of people go through life without setting any goals whatsoever. Why is setting goals necessary? Why is that so important?
I have heard of these creatures who do not set goals. And if that works for you, for your life, I'm very happy for you. But I am a firm believer that you can't get what you want unless you know what that is. And that's where goals come in. So you start with, and we'll talk about the Deb method as well. But when you start with, this is what I want, and then figure out what you need to do to get there, your life is, for the most part, in your control. So when you set goals, when you've got the things that you're working towards, first of all, it makes your life better, right? Because you're not just doing the same thing day in, day out. And again, if you are and you love it, I'm so happy for you. But most people, they want something more. They want to build their business. They want to grow their thought leadership, or maybe they just want more balance. And that is a goal, and that's a great goal. But you need to, when you set these aspirations, you know what you're working toward.
Yeah. If anybody listening has or watching has read the famous book Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz, in that book, it's been around forever and it is famous, he says that we are all born with a success mechanism in our brain. In other words, we pop out of the womb born to be successful, but that success mechanism needs something to focus on if it's going to do anything for us. And he says, what does it focus on? Our goals. So I'm with you, as the co-author of a book called How to Be Your Own Coach, Setting and Achieving Goals. And I know you're an author. We'll talk about that. I say he's absolutely right. You can wander through life aimlessly and hope that you get what you want, or you can have an intention and set a path towards it, which to you and me is let's set goals. So what's the first step in setting goals? There should be a bunch of steps. What's the first step?
Oh, I think I just spoilered it. It's knowing what you want. When you think about the life you want, what does that look like? And maybe you can't change your day job, but you can start a side hustle that could one day grow into something bigger. Or maybe you work too much and you need to be intentional about working less, having more balance or harmony, or whatever word you like to describe it. Goals aren't just about the professional aspirations. It's the personal goals as well, because they work together. Your personal life is great. Your professional life is going to be better, vice versa. And also the opposite is true. So first step is saying, what is going on with me? Where do I want to be? And then you can go from there. But again, if you're happy with life, that's fine. If you've got drama or something that you just kind of have to be status quo for a while, that's fine as well. But that at some point when you are ready, you can set some goals and make some changes. Nothing frustrates me more than when I hear people say things like, I hate my job. Well, I am certain most people have said that at least once in their life. You and I we're very fortunate. We get to do what we love and share that, which is why we were connected in the first place, because I was looking for like minds. And Brent said, oh, do you know Jeff Goldberg? You guys totally need to meet. But at some point, people are like, my life's not great. Your job, again, maybe you could change it and that's wonderful. But even if you can't, there are things that you could do to make your life better. And that improvement is going to add up into hopefully a better overall life. The other thing I'll just add is that we're facing change constantly. Sometimes it's by choice, usually it's by circumstance. And when you are confronted with change, it is the way that you embrace it is going to help you to thrive in whatever aspect of your life needs the goals, needs that improvement.
Yes. And in my area of expertise, sales and sales management, what we usually focus on is financial goals, but you're absolutely right. You can have a goal about anything. I want to have a nicer house. I want to lose weight. I want to find a mate. Oh, now I feel like Dr. Seuss. Yeah, you can have goals for everything. I do want to talk about the Deb method in just a moment, but so many people are familiar with what are called SMART goals, goals that are specific and measurable and achievable and relevant and time bound. Almost everybody has heard about SMART goals, but you say SMART goals are dumb and Deb goals are smart. Why is that? I love contrarians, by the way.
Well, first of all, isn't that just a great phrase?
Yeah, yes, it is. As soon as I read it, I said, I've got to ask about this.
This is my take on SMART goals. They are a tool. And if they work for you, they are a great tool. But Deb goals help you set the foundation for your goals because you can't get what you want unless you know what that is. So if you use SMART goals, I hope you have no ill will toward me, but I am a firm believer in that if you love something, if you're passionate about it, you create something that you can share with the world, the methodology. No one that I know who teaches SMART goals, or really no one who teaches SMART goals, is the person who created SMART goals. SMART goals were part of a thesis that mathematicians came up with whenever ages ago. And if your business, I'll be contrarian now. If your business is, I teach SMART goals, you can do better. Make a goal. And I do know there are people who do something called smarter goals. There are people who use the SMART goal methodology and have put their own spin on it. Great. If you think that they're so wonderful, what can you do to add your spin? But again, if you use SMART goals, if you love them, I am very happy for you. But they're not going to work unless you start by setting Deb goals.
So let's talk about Deb goals. What is the Deb method? What actually is the Deb method? DEB Deb. Obviously, your name Deborah, but what is DEB the DEB method? I'd love to know.
So Deb stands for Determine Your Mission, Explore Your Options, Brainstorm Your Path. And these are the 3 phases that I believe you need to set the foundation for your goals. So D, determine your mission. The very first step is visualization. If you think about the life you want, what does that look like? Then you write your current bio, but really leaning in toward the you that you want to become or that you're evolving into. And then your future bio. What do you want your bio to say in the present tense and in the third person 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now? I feel like the definition of long term has changed so much since COVID because we all know that everything changes constantly. But even a year from now, what are you going to be celebrating? What win? What is your bio going to be saying about you in January 2026? So you write your current bio, you write your future bio, and then a mission statement. And that encompasses who you are, what makes you unique, and how you help. And that last element, that how you help, that's the fuel. So I use my background, my methodology, my expertise, my books, my workshops, et cetera, to help as many people as possible figure out what they want and how to get it so they can live a happy, more fulfilled life. So very long, Very clunky, but that's what the motto is for, which is the next step. So you shorten your mission statement into a phrase or a title or a theme song, and that's your North Star. This is what my TEDx was the magic of your motto. Because when you know who you are and what you're about, that everything will set up more in alignment. You know what opportunities to take and which ones to run screaming from. You know what's going to guide you through your goal path. So that's the D. E, explore your options. You know that this is what you want from life. That's the research phase, so you can look into the different elements. B, brainstorm your path. You figured out your goals, so you want to write everything out and divide and conquer. So short term, long term, dream goals, easy goals, personal and professional. You put everything out there, you categorize them, and you make a plan. Easy, right?
1, 2, 3, DEB.
So my motto is goal setting simplified, because changing your life is challenging enough. I made the instructions really easy.
I like that. And as a coach, a sales coach, I work with people who want to earn more money typically and want to get better at selling so they can do that. And with my coaching clients, I always advise them, have your goals set for next year by January 31st, put some time on your calendar to devote to writing everything out. And that's why I said you're the perfect guest today, because it's only the 10th. So is it too late for people who have not set goals, or is there still time? Can they still sit down today, even though we're 10 days into the year?
Well, I do start the new year in December to help give people a running start into the new year. And I talk about goals in January because it would be really odd if I didn't. But I talk about goals year round. I lead a Goal Chat Live every Monday. I do a conversation with 3 guests to chime in on the topic of the week. I'm all about the inspiration, the motivation, the action items to help people achieve their goals. So the answer to your question is, of course it isn't too late. The day that you decide you need to set goals, that is the day to start setting goals.
Perfect. And what's the difference between goals and resolutions? Because New Year's resolutions, can you talk a little bit about that? What's the difference?
No, there is no difference. They're very, very similar. I believe resolutions is like the universal word for it's the beginning of the year, fresh slate. Let's decide what we are going to resolve to do better, differently, grow, create this year. Is it really that different from a goal?
Well, let's talk about today's date. Today is January 10th, and it's not just famous for what's going on in a New York courtroom right now. Yeah, well, tell us about why January 10th is important.
Well, it is National Quitters Day. So studies show that this is the day that people give up on their New Year's resolutions. A lot of people just don't even set them and don't even set goals. Oh, I don't need to celebrate Quitters Day. I didn't set anything to begin with.
And what's the difference between January 10th and January 17th, which is ditch New Year's resolutions day?
I think 2 different people just created 2 different holidays. It's really chiming in on, it's because truly the end of January is when people give up on the resolutions. And a lot of people say, okay, I'll try again next year. I say, really? You want to wait a whole year to make your life better? Okay. Years ago, this friend said to me, oh yeah, I do my resolutions every year. I write them down on a piece of paper, and I put them in the bottom of a drawer. And then the end of the year, I look and see if I accomplished anything. That does not work either. So along with knowing what you want, you need those goals top of mind, because you know what you're working towards, and you're constantly on the lookout for the opportunities, the resources, the people that you meet who are going to help you achieve your goals, because you can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. And that also is super helpful in knowing what you're working toward. And going back to the motto, so my motto is goal setting simplified. So every opportunity, I'm like, okay, is this a place where I can spread my message? am I going to be able to help people? Is this book going to help more people? Is this workshop really going to get people excited about goals? So everything that I create, it's with that in mind. Years ago, a friend said, I'm doing this panel of women in business. Will you be on it? And this was, I had been out of, my background is communication, project management. I hadn't worked for people in ages, but a friend asked and I said yes. And I regretted it like the second I said yes, but I wasn't going to go back on it. The morning of the event, it was canceled. And it was like the universe protecting me.
Nice manifestation.
Bizarre, right? And then when she rescheduled for January. And I said, thank you for the invitation, but it is goal season. And I really need to leave my January open for goal-related activities. As it turned out, something else did come up for that exact date that I was able to say yes to because I said no to something that was not a fit for me, my motto, my brand, my depthness.
My depthness. I know that when you emailed me telling me about Quitter's Day and Ditch Your New Year's Resolutions Day, which I wasn't aware of, the thought that came to me was, and I can't speak to the accuracy of this, but I remember reading a report at one point that said people who own gyms know that in January, by the third week of January, 2/3 of the people that joined on January 2nd or 1st are gone. They'll never come back. And the people who are gym rats and go all the time, they know that they're going to have 2 or 3 weeks of misery because so many people are there, and then it's going to become normal again.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And that brings me to something you said a couple of times, and I picked up on it. And you said, you've got to, what do you want out of life? And certainly we have to look at what we want out of life. But there's a word that I use constantly with my coaching clients, and that's commitment. I tell coaching clients before I take them on that I don't care what you want. I don't care what your hopes are. I don't care what your dreams are. I don't care what your wishes are. As a human, I care about all that stuff for you. But as your coach, I only care about one thing. What are you committed to? Can you speak to the difference in goal achievement between your wants and your commitments?
Well, you need to prioritize yourself. So many people, especially entrepreneurs, but really everybody, they keep appointments with other people and they're willing to ditch appointments with themselves when something comes up. And the boundaries that you need to set. I was once, this was pre-pandemic, I did this workshop and everybody, a writer's workshop. For writers, it's really common for people to think that you're not working because you're writing, right? And it was like, raise your hand if people don't get you, the people in your life, and like 3/4 of the room raise their hands. So it's really, I don't want to say easy, but maybe it's people's default mechanism is, oh, you need me, I'm just writing, blah, blah, blah. Or you need me, this is something for me, it can wait. Well, no, it can't. And what I think, and commitment, that is the tip that you share in my book, 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting. You need to gift yourself time with yourself, time to figure out what you're working towards, but also what hours each day, each week you can put into achieving that goal. And what I say is, you make this big list, you figure out what you need to do, then look at your life, look at your calendar. How many hours a week can you devote to working on your book or this business project or starting a new podcast? And if you've got a lot of other things going on, you need to just pick the one thing that you can do until life eases up a bit.
Yeah. And you're right. I often say that for me personally, one of the most important things in my life after my 3 kids and my dog is my integrity. I want to be known as a person who you can count on. I often say I'd rather break my arm than break my word to somebody else, but I will break my word to me. Even though I'm a disciplined guy and I've co-authored a book on setting and achieving goals,
Right.
I love me, I'm gonna lose a bunch of weight. Well, I'll start tomorrow because tonight I want a big plate of Chinese food. Now it turns out I've lost 30 pounds since Labor Day because of commitment, but it's easy to break your word to yourself, and you need to honor your word to yourself just as much as you do to other people. You're absolutely right. I love that. What is that? What stops people from achieving their goals, or is there something else besides lack of commitment?
In addition to lack of commitment, it goes back to not knowing what you want. But the other thing is they're like on one path, and maybe they're miserable, but they feel like they're already committed to a life that this is my education. So, and yes, doctors, lawyers, actually there's this whole movement of lawyers who don't practice law but use their law degree for something else. But in most educational situations, people are like, okay, I've got a degree in this. I chose my path in my 20s and I need to stick with it. And I don't think that's, I'm Generation Xer. We were the first generation probably to not do the same thing our entire life. And went the entire other end of the spectrum. Kids today, boy, do I sound like a Generation Xer now. They have so many choices, and that's a different kind of a problem. So I believe, in addition to the commitment problem, it's they're either overcommitted to something that they don't love, that no longer suits them. And that's another thing by the pandemic. For like 3-4 years, people worked from home. Well, especially the first two. And what did you do? You picked up hobbies, you learned things, and maybe your skill set changed. Great. That makes you a really good employee for someone else because you've expanded what you're able to do. It makes you a great entrepreneur consultant because you've added to what you are capable of doing. So give yourself a break and really think about what you want and how you can use the skills, because it doesn't have to be that thing you committed to ages ago. We have so many options.
Yeah, I think there's something else that's important. My book talks about how to be your own coach, how you can coach yourself to success. But even in a book about coaching yourself to success and achieving your goals, we talk about you need an accountability partner, because we will, for most of us, keep our word to somebody else, but not for not ourselves. So I find accountability partners are a crucial part of achieving goals, especially one of the things that helps keep you going when you get an obstacle, when you don't, when you feel like giving up. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, I started on this whole goal path because years ago, when I lived in Chicago, I was doing events for Barnes & Noble. And whenever I need to fill my calendar, I would just hang out in the cafe because I wanted it to be a community bookstore. And one day someone walked in and said, will you start a writer support group? And I said, if you think people will show up, let's give it a shot. But for me, that meant, what did you accomplish? What are you working on? How can we support you? And what are you going to do for next time? And I wasn't going to ask people these questions without answering them myself. So I made goals myself, and I saw the power of that kind of commitment, that kind of group. Fast forward, moved to LA, restarted the group, and over the years it evolved. So it's writers, creatives, and entrepreneurs, because if you're one, you're likely the other two as well. And that is my Write On Online Facebook group. Every day it's a different prompt. What are your networking goals for the week? What are your goals? Toot Your Horn Thursday, Photo Friday, weekend plans. So there's a way to, it's goal setting in productivity, but also community. So this worked, like I said, really well. I was leading this group and people said, you're good at this. I've been trying to write my book for years. Can you help me? Sure. We got it done in 3 months. Or, you're good at this. Will you speak at my event? So this, for me, not only was goal setting something I saw the power of, look at how meta that is. I became a goal expert by helping people with goals and seeing the power of it. So whether it's a Facebook group or people, you've got a buddy or a coach or a consultant or whatever, great. Or even if you don't have those things, but you write it down and you do commit to yourself, I'm going to do an hour 2 days a week on this, and also to be tracking what you're doing, so when you feel like you're slugging and when am I going to get there, because a lot of goals take a while and none of us have any patience. But when you're tracking your wins on a regular basis at the end of the week or the month, when you're feeling, ugh, are we there yet? You can look and say, no, but look at how far you've come in the journey. Look at all the different things that you've done. I will say one more thing, and then I will stop this particular ramble. My book, Your Goal Guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals, that came out in January 2020. So 6 weeks before the world had changed by circumstance was my book that helps people embrace change by choice or circumstance. And that goes through Deb is the first half, exercises, and then the second half of the book is strategies for success. So whatever will work for you in terms of commitment, commit. Figure out, I'm going to choose me, and these are the me appointments for the day, the week, the month. And you can move the appointments if you have to. You just cannot delete them once you commit to them.
Gotcha. So besides commitment and accountability, is there anything else that we should know about how to stay on track when the going gets rough? I mean, you said it. We all want the path to achieving our goals to be smooth and easy, straight up with no problems whatsoever, but it rarely goes that way. And we often face obstacles and complete roadblocks on the road to goal achievement. So besides commitment and accountability, any other advice for how to pick yourself back up when you maybe stumble or when it looks like this is just going to be impossible, this is stupid, I shouldn't have done this anyways?
Aw, poor
Not
you.
that I've ever had that conversation.
Oh no, I know, but I just feel bad for the imaginary person you just used as an example.
Well, when you get smacked in the face enough, it's like, why am I even doing this? Why am I going through this pain? Screw it. So anything else, any other advice for getting back on track or staying on track? In fact, this is the perfect time to talk about this. You live in LA, and I was thrilled to hear that you're not in danger yet, but we all know what's going on. Anybody in America certainly knows what's going on right now. People are going through horrible devastation, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better anytime soon. Any advice for when you go through a tragedy like that, and not hitting a goal may or may not be a tragedy, but there's real tragedy going on. Any advice for how do you pick yourself up? How do you recover from some devastation like this?
I think I'm going to answer the questions backwards. When you find yourself in a trauma, it is not the time to be setting goals. You are in survival mode. I mean, even for me this week, I am on the edge of it, and it is very difficult to concentrate, but what I can do is talk. So that's what I've been doing this week is interviews. I've got my book coming out at the end of the month, but also just having conversations with people and checking in with people. And if you live in LA, you know how close everything is. If you don't live in LA, you think it's actually closer. Maybe a little bit. But when you are in a situation like this, I don't think anybody in LA, or especially those impacted directly by the fire, I don't think any of them should be thinking about their future beyond tomorrow and next week for a while. I mean, at least no goal setting. I'm giving those in the LA area dispensation to not set goals beyond survival and what am I going to do next now, because you've got other things to worry about. You have to protect yourself, your sanity, your family, and you need to do the things that you need to do to get through the day. So when you're in something, just be in it and know that it's okay, that things will get better and you will get that motivation back. But it's like when you're in mourning for a loved one or a friend or whatever, you have to give yourself the time. And yes, there will be like there's a haze. I know that's a terrible metaphor to use in a place with fire everywhere, but you're going to be in a haze for a while. You do what you can and be okay with the fact that you can only do so much right now. Look at what you can do and do that. When you are ready, then go back to what is your mission? What are you excited about? And this can, going back to the first part of the question, what do you do when you hit the brick wall too many times? Well, first of all, make sure that you've been working at it for a while, because as we said before, some of these things take time. I want to be the first person people think of when they hear the word goal, because when you Google goals, a bunch of men come up. And I'm not saying this because, well, maybe a little bit because I'm a woman, and I think it's really not okay that it's only men who are considered in the Google of the world goal setting experts, because I know that I have a lot to offer and my take on it is very helpful. That does not happen tomorrow. I would love for it to have happened, like yesterday, but you know what I mean? Sure. So realize that you put in enough time, and when you've got the mission and the model behind what you're doing, that should be able to keep you on track because you know what you are working toward. When you are hitting roadblock after roadblock, this is not okay, or something really impactful has happened, that maybe you were building a side hustle and you lost your job, you need to shift priorities, whatever it is, go back to that mission. What do you love? What makes you unique, and how do you help? And see if there's a way that you could do it in a big way or in a little way to work towards your goals. So start with that. I've got one other little add-on is I love journaling, and I've got this tactic, I call it directed journaling. So when you are at a loss, schedule 3, 4, 5, 15 minutes with yourself where you're just answering a question or a series of questions related to something like what's next, or this isn't working, what can I do instead? And you want to do this 3, 4, 5 times. Don't read any of it until after you've completed the exercise. And then you can go through and find your common themes. So read through it once and then read through it again with a highlighter or a notepad. What are the things that you keep talking about? Those are the ones that you really want to lean into because you're excited. You're going to put the energy behind it. And that is really going to help you in your strive to succeed and figure out next steps.
Okay, got it. So for the stumbling blocks for goals, I say that's a great time to use your accountability partner or your coach or your mentor. It's, we often go it alone, especially entrepreneurs, but sometimes we need to hear from somebody else. My mentor in the speaking and training business, just incredibly smart, amazingly talented, the best sales trainer I've ever seen on a stage, period. Just amazing. But he'll call me. His name is Steve. He'll call me sometimes. I haven't heard from him in a few months this way, but I'll pick up the phone. It's like, Jeff, it's Steve. And I'm like, Steve, what's going on? It'll be something like, I'm in Abu Dhabi and I need a dose of Jeff. Now, this is the guy I learned everything from. I'm pretty sure every word that comes out of my mouth, I really stole from him. But he knows I'm a guy who, if he's a little bit stuck or not feeling great, I have a way to speak to people that'll kind of bring them back up. So you need somebody else sometimes who can pull you out of that. What am I doing? I'm staring at this brick wall and I can't go anywhere. So somebody else. And with the horrible stuff that's going on, I really liked what you said. It's time to focus on the immediate rather than, don't worry about my 10-year goal. And usually, with goal setting, we could talk about 1 month and 3 month and 12-month goals, but it's often 1 year, 5 year, 10-year. So yeah, it's time to, how do I survive through this? How do I get through to tonight and the next night? And when the haze, and appropriate word actually, does clear, that's the time to maybe look at, now how do I get back on the horse and go towards the big stuff? Yes?
Yes, absolutely. You do what you need to do. You do what you can do. And if what you can do is watch the news and check in with your loved ones, then that is what you do. And I'm talking, for me, from someone who's outside the area, but also very vigilant should anything change. I know I'm more fortunate than so many people, but I'm still on this state of high alert. So see what it is you can do. If you've got a specialty, if there's something that you could do to help that's going to feel good, like you're doing something, great. I saw this woman on the news last night. She made a bunch of chicken soup and was standing outside one of the centers, one of the community centers, just giving people soup, giving people love. And I'm like, that she needed to do something, and that's what she was compelled to do. And good for her.
Yeah. So you mentioned it a few moments ago. I'm not sure if everybody picked up on it. You've got a Your Goals Guide Facebook group. What's that about?
Okay, well, I've got 3 now because this is what we do. So, Right On Online is the group that I've had for maybe 15 years. The internet when we first started doing social media. So that is the one where it's a check-in for your goals and different types of things each day of the week. I have a group for your goal guide to support the book that came out in 2020. And I have a new group for 52 secrets for goal setting and goal getting. And all these groups are there for community, so I will be posting my live shows or interviews or like little snippets to keep people motivated and excited. Every now and then I will create my own unofficial holiday. Like in November, I did November is for networking. So I posted every day a different networking tip. And those are things that go on my LinkedIn, in my Facebook groups, on my Facebook page. Just, I feel like Instagram. I don't do X anymore because I led a Twitter chat for years. And when it got toxic, which is like the opposite of everything I do, I said, okay, it's time for more efforts. But my Goal Chat live show actually was born out of my Goal Chat Twitter chat. So every Sunday night for 3.5 years, it was, what was your win this week? What are your goals for next week? And then we would chat about the topic. And after the book came out in 2020, my publisher was like, do you want to do a live show for your goal chat? And I had been thinking about it for a while, so it was an easy yes. And that started from the first 2 episodes were just me talking to a one-on-one interview show. And then the end of 2020, I started, I was trying to figure out how do you do a party when you can't leave the house? It's you bring people together who don't know each other and you have a conversation. And that's when I started infusing panel shows into my Goal Chat live show. And by the following spring, that was my entire format. Because you can't reach your goals on your own, you need your people, which is why accountability groups are important, Facebook groups, wherever you're going to get that motivation. And I'm with you on the coach thing. The really, I call it in your goal guide because it's a road trip theme, no backseat drivers. The thing with the coaches and the accountability groups is know who you are and what you're about before you get feedback on anything. So if you want to be vague on your goals, I completely support that in communities because you're not ready to share. You just want to make sure that the people that you speak to have your best interest at heart and are not looking at what you're doing through their lens.
And you mentioned Twitter, now X, having changed. And of course, now we've got to be vigilant and see what happens with Facebook now that Mark Zuckerberg fired all the fact checkers. Well, that's probably going to be a nightmare, but I don't even want to go there. You mentioned your upcoming book, which I think is coming out any day now, 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting. What is that one about? How will that help people?
Okay, well, it's 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting, How to Stay Focused, Grow Your Network, and Get More Done in Less Time will be out actually on January 28th. And what I did was I interviewed 60, I know it's 52 tips, but there's a bonus in each chapter. And then Guy Kawasaki wrote the afterwards. So the number ended up being 60, but we like the title 52 Secrets. So
I would make it 61 or 62 for Guy because that guy's awesome.
So in the book, I interviewed awesome achievers in the areas of business and tech, entertainment, food, because I also do a food podcast, change makers, entrepreneurs, consultants. So people, and I asked the question, what is your secret for goal setting and goal getting? And our friend Bryn Tillman said, you really need to interview Jeff. And this is how we met. So I'm really excited to have you in the book. But what the book is, it's a menu. It's a choose your own adventure of what advice do you need now? And you can either go to the section, whether it is focus or well-being or action. Let me see if I can get them in order. Networking, communication, productivity, and leadership and teamwork. So you can either go to the section or just go to the advice that you need to hear, and then you can read what this person, this achiever, has accomplished, and then the backstory behind it or their own anecdote and how living this advice has helped them. So it's uh, it is I've done a lot of goal things and Deb things. This is the most Deb thing I've ever done because, as I mentioned before, my live show is all about bringing people who don't know each other together. So for this book, I brought together, and yes, as I did the interviews, I would ask people, okay, who else needs to be in the book? They need to be someone I would be friends with and also have a giving spirit. Those were the qualifications. And everybody in the book is someone I know. They're either a friend or someone I've interviewed or an intro and now a friend. And everybody in the book is just they've got some, and I believe let me rephrase the sentence. Everybody has something to offer. So I'm just so proud that I was able to gather this wonderful advice and share it. So when you're ready, if you're in one of those points where you're like, oh my goodness, my wall's getting dented from my head being banged up against it so many times, what do I need to know to get to the next thing? And you can go through and find what advice you need to hear and then dive deeper. One of the people who reviewed the book said, I know the book is designed to pick it up and put it down, but I couldn't put it down. And she read the book straight through. And you can do that too, but it's designed to be inspirational and motivational, but most importantly, give you action items so you can get to the next thing and create the life you deserve and desire.
It's great. And I was honored to be asked to be a part of it. And I can't wait to read the whole thing. I don't know if you're willing to share them, but are you willing to share any of your goals for this year? I believe that the more public you make your goals, the better off you are.
Okay. Well, this is my big goal is to make 52 Secrets the next Chicken Soup for the Soul, because everybody's got something that they want to, that has worked for them that they feel compelled to share. So if you go to 52secretsbook.com, you can write to me and say, well, this is what's worked for me, or I tried this in the book and it really helped me. So I really want to get conversation going around this book. So hopefully this time next year, I'm celebrating the next one in this series.
I love that. And is it available for pre-order now, or do we have to wait till the 28th?
Of course you do not have to wait. You could pre-order it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Bookshop, wherever you like to buy books. And if you pre-order and then email your receipt to marketing@mangopublishinggroup.com, you can get the bonus secrets and a worksheet that's going to help you get organized and get your goals set for the new year.
And who doesn't love bonuses?
No one, right? No. I mean, if you're going to buy one, you want to get one free, right?
Of course, absolutely. Now, I get a third of my business from the networking group I've been in for 20 years, and you tie networking into goals. How does networking tie into goals?
You can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. And maybe the people that you know aren't your client, but everybody knows more people. And my favorite way to network has been my my live show. So every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific, I go live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Then there's a blog post recap and links, and then it also goes out as the Goal Chat podcast every Thursday. And unless it's on purpose, my guests don't know each other. So I might meet someone and say, oh, you need to meet so-and-so. And I might do an intro anyway, but more likely I'll just say, let's just get you on a show together. So, and you don't know where something's going to come from. But when you are open to meeting new people, and also when you know really clearly who you are and how you help, that's also really important, because people want to know how they can help you. I always ask, whether it's a breakout room or I'm doing a one-on-one, I even do a monthly mixer for I do it as a meet and greet. In my January, my February gold chats are all people who are in the book. So I'll start this again probably in February, where I get an email saying I want to be on your show, and you can't be on my show if I don't know you. So I do these mixers, and I will bring together a batch of people who want to be on the show who I don't know, and then I'll say, we'll go through, tell me about you. What do you like to talk about? Okay, what is the fun thing you like to talk about? Because I might put you in a category that you don't even think you like talking about, but it's such a match, and it's kind of awesome when that happens. Where was I going on this? Oh, and I just remembered. Okay, I'm reeling back in the train. So at the end of any kind of conversation, I will ask, what do you need? What can I have on my radar for you?
Sure.
And I think it's really important to know the answer, but it's also super important to ask the question, because you never know where a conversation or a relationship will go.
Debra, I start every one-on-one, what we in the networking group I'm in, we call them opportunity calls, but every one-on-one starts like this. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about your life. Tell me about your family. Of course, tell me about your business and your challenges, but most importantly, tell me how I can help you.
Exactly.
And I can't tell you how many times people have acknowledged me for saying that, when to me, it's the most obvious thing. I mean, what are we networking for? We want to help each other. We want to get help, and we want to offer help. I mean, look, we all want help. Do we really want to help others? Some do, some don't. I happen to be wired. I like helping other people. Don't get me wrong. I also like getting paid for helping other people. But one of the side benefits of my job is that I do love helping people. I think it's one of the things that makes me good at it. I genuinely love the feeling of helping somebody achieve their goals. So that's the way I start. And to me, it's the most obvious thing, because people like that. When you're networking and it's like, what can you do for me? People get that sense. And it's like, they feel, why do I want to bother with this person? But when you come from that place of, how can I serve you, which is to me the place to come from in sales in general, and in networking, how can I help you? I think that opens up a conversation that allows people to tell you what they want. And if you can help them, and then they want to help you too, because the law of reciprocity takes over. Do you have any other tips for being a more effective networker besides asking how I can help you?
I need to backtrack, because everything you said is why we are friends. And I became Vivica von Rosen introduced me to Bryn, who introduced me to a bunch of people in the book, and some of those people introduced me to more people. And that's where the joy comes from, is watching that. And a couple of the people who said, you really need to interview so-and-so because I want to know their answer to this question. So I've seen in real life how that question has unfolded for me, which is amazing. Other than that, be really concise and in your ask. Know a way to, and I'll go to some networking groups once or twice and then never again. And the ones that I love, you go to over and over again, because you see the same people. And every now and then I will see somebody ramble for like 3 minutes, and I just feel so bad for this person, because not only have they annoyed the host, no one's going to remember anything. I will say I am a goal strategist, workshop leader, and I also, now I'm doing it. Goal strategist, author, workshop leader, speaker, and I help people with book proposals. So that's usually my one little tagline, the 3 things that look kind of like they go together, and then the book proposal specialist, because I also happen to be very good at helping people wrangle their ideas and put it into a format that they can get out there. It's very similar to goals when you think about it, but this is my one line, and I put it at the top of, oh, this is a really good tip. Have what you do ready to cut and paste and put in the chat at any time. You've got your one-liner and then a list of links that you want people to know, including your LinkedIn, because for me, that's the Rolodex. That is, if I need to fill a slot or I'm looking to fill a category of something I'm working on, I will go in my LinkedIn and keyword search and see who comes up. And usually I'll say, oh yeah, that was the name that was like in the back of my head that needed to come out. So you want to be able to say what you do concisely, what you need concisely, and have your links all set to go to put into the chat so people can continue conversations, because you're not going to meet everybody at a networking event. But I met so many people, especially in 2020, because that's all we did was go online and meet new friends, who said, we didn't talk, but I see you named your system after yourself. I would love to learn more. So add something unique that people want to know more about.
And I do love Deb as an adjective. That's great. And for anybody who wants more tips, if you go to Deb's LinkedIn feed and look backwards, in November, she gave a tip every single day, and they were all terrific. And also, since she's mentioned her, I think 3 times now, Bryn is Bryn Tillman, who is a genius when it comes to social selling and an incredible human being. And I thank Bryn. I'm so happy Bryn's in my life. She's one of probably 4 or 5 LinkedIn experts who are my go-to people whenever I have a question. And Bryn she's awesomeness personified. You're also passionate about more than just goals and book writing. You're also passionate about cooking. Tell me a little bit about that.
I am a former non-cook. I spent most of my life, I love the grocery store. I always felt like dialing for dinner was really more time efficient than actually going to the store. And then in 2000, believe it was 2017, I got my mom an Instant Pot for Mother's Day. And this was like at the beginning of the craze. And she looked at it and said, is part of my present you learning how to use it? And I said, okay. So I Googled, we learned together. And I discovered that you could put in ingredients and then go do something and it comes out a meal. So that was my gateway appliance. And since then, and I host the Taste Buds with Deb podcast. I'm a food writer. So I literally went from, oh yeah, I'll just run out and pick something up, to it's such a better use of my time to be preparing anything. And like I said, it was my gateway. I went from the Instant Pot to I got an air fryer top, and then my air fryer and my Instant Pot, they are my appliances. I use my air fryer probably every day. And the reason that I love cooking so much, other than the food, is that you can't be connected to anything and be cooking. It is like the best brain break ever, and you are rewarded with food. So that's whether you love cooking, and who really wouldn't, or there's something else that you can do to like not shut off, but just something to like open your mind, be creative. Like if I'm stuck on a lead for an article I'm writing, I'll just go like peel some carrots,
So it sounds like cooking is meditation for you.
Yeah, well, it is. It's meditation, but it's also, there's the creativity aspect. I remember years ago, I had like right after I got the Instant Pot and I was really excited about cooking, my goal for the year was to make food without a recipe. And then someone said, well, Deb, you do need to learn how to cook with a recipe first. So it goes back to learn the rules and then break them. And I am even now, every time I hear myself give advice to cooking, either in a conversation or I'm typing a comment or whatever, I'm like, are these my fingers? Is this my voice? So it's still kind of foreign to me that I've become this person, but we're talking, I'll bring it back to goals. Some things take a really long time to accomplish. Food, you want instant gratification on a goal? Just go cook something.
Gotcha. And you mentioned this a couple of minutes ago. I know in December you hosted your 5th annual Debcember. So what is Deb's? I love the sound of it. What's Debcember?
Debcember is you basically get 13 months every year. So you use Debcember to wrap up the projects for the year before, but also to start up the projects for the following year. And that way, when January rolls around, you're ready. You've got your goals. You know what win you're going to be celebrating in a year. And you've got everything in motion So at the beginning of the year, you don't have to start thinking because you already know what you're going to be celebrating. So I do a lot of workshops in December and February, which I'm considering renaming February, but really, how many months of the year does one need to name after themselves?
I'm now thinking Jeff Tober.
You may have Jeff Tober. I love that. That works perfectly. I can't wait
I don't
to
know what I'm going to
celebrate it
do with
with
it,
you.
but I'm thinking about it. We're getting low on time, but there is something else I wanted to ask you about. When we first met, I mentioned that my hobby is doing stand-up comedy, and I love it. And a few months ago, you posted about a neurodivergent comedy night, and when I saw that, I'm like, well, that's interesting. What's a neurodivergent comedy night? So, what is that? What's a neurodivergent comedy show, and how does that differ from other comedy shows?
Oh, well, and this is the other thing that I love about communities. So I also, my Taste Buds with Deb podcast is on the Jewish Journal Podcast Network, and I'm a freelancer for them. And I saw my friends Rob Kuttner and Mike Rotman were putting up this neurodiverse comedy night, neurodivergent, because they knew enough people in the community who were neurodivergent, but they couldn't go out and enjoy. And what they did is they said it's a simple model that anyone can replicate. And all they do is they tell the comedians that there may be outbursts, and they let the staff know just to be more patient. And they don't do blinking lights, and they don't have loud music. And other than that, it's like any other comedy show, but it's one where people who aren't neurodivergent or have family members or friends, they can go out and enjoy a night together. And
Brilliant.
I saw Rob posted about it, and of course I'm like, okay, we need to get the word out. And he said it's just a simple model. Anybody can do anywhere, and they can be more inclusive and bring this kind of enjoyment to everybody. So there's so many. LA, I love you. We know we're going through a rough time. LA is resilient. It is creative. It's the merging of everything, creativity, technology, information, which is why I know that we will be okay. But this is why I love that I live here, because you could be whoever you want, do whatever you want. And that's what we do here, is we put things out into the world that benefit other people, which is the whole point of setting goals and being, you love what you do. You love helping people, as do I, as do a lot of the people in our circles, because, like attracts like. So it's just this show is such a really good example of seeing we can do this. It's easy. And they did it. And people got so much joy from it.
I love the thought of it. And, when I saw it, I was like, yeah, I think I know, but thank you for the explanation. And people come to comedy shows and they think that when we're up on the stage, we want them to be part of the show. You'll often get some really drunk people that are shouting stuff out. We're not interested in you being part of the show. I promise you. Now, if you want to heckle and you have a good heckle and the comedian is good at crowd work, that's not a problem. But for the most part, what we really want to do is just get up there and do our thing. We want to be a performer. And when people forget about neurodivergence, when people who are there just in the audience start thinking they're the show, it really is distracting. So creating an atmosphere where it's expected and allowed is really a beautiful thing. And I'm looking at the clock and we're actually out of time. But before we go, I'm going to share my screen. Could you please tell people how can they reach you, Deb, if they're interested in speaking with you or getting some of your books or anything else?
I am at the Deb Method everywhere on social media. You can go to thedebmethod.com or email me at deb@thedebmethod.com, or just reach out and connect with me on LinkedIn. You can grab a copy of your goal guide and 52 secrets for goal setting and goal getting at your favorite place to buy books, and subscribe to Goal Chat and the Taste Buds with Deb podcast. And if you need a little bit of extra encouragement or strategy for whether it's your goals or your nonfiction book writing goals, book proposals, go to thedebmethod.com/bookswithdeb. Wow,
a lot of ways to get in touch with you. Well, Debra Eckerling,
we are there.
Happy New Year. I know you're going to achieve your goals this year. And thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your brilliance so generously. And I will end as I always do. Actually, before I end, I'm just going to give a piece of advice. I love the beginning of the year, just like I love the end of the year. And if you are in sales, and if you're listening to this podcast and you're not in sales, I'm not quite sure why, but if you're in sales, please do not wait till August, September, October, November, December to figure out, you know what, I'm not hitting my goals. I need to get some help. Keep track of what you're doing. February, March, that's the time to reach out for help. Go to your manager, go to a friend, hire a coach. The earlier in the year that you catch that you're not on track, the more time you have to fix it. And that's with any goal, not just a financial one. So please be aware of that. And now I'll end as I always do, which is remember that sales is a game of making things happen. So please get out there and make sales happen. Thank you, Deb. Thanks everyone for joining us. Have a great weekend. And please, Deb and everybody in Los Angeles, stay safe if you possibly can. Thanks, y'all. Have a great one.